Welcome to Kept Woman Conversations. We're here to take a deep dive into the captivating, complex world of my inspiring book, Kept Woman in the Grips of Obsession. Join us while we talk to women, real women, navigating their own stories, sharing their journeys in transparency, and showing us how to overcome their unique situations. Get ready to unlock the secrets of all the ins and outs of all of these different journeys. I'm excited to announce my guest, AstaRa Solae, who supports purpose-driven sensitivities and empaths facing suffocating anxiety. With a decade of experience, she brings all the knowledge of starting her practice in 2017 and using her unique trace work to facilitate transformation. Let's dive into her journey about anxiety, and we welcome her right now. Hello, AstaRa Solae. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Hey, Robin. Thanks for having me.
How's everything?
Wonderful. Great. I'm so excited to be here with you and have this conversation.
Great. You know, I was reading your website. Now, I've known you for some time now, and I was reading your website about your Alchemized Anxiety, and that's what drew me into asking you to be a guest on the show.
I love it.
So I'm so glad you accepted that.
Yes, thank you.
Yes. So let's tell the listeners, what is Alchemized Anxiety?
Well, so Alchemized Anxiety is my way of thinking about how we can harvest anxiety as a superpower. So anxiety is really such a prevalent issue for so many people, but especially for energy sensitives and empaths. That's who I work with. And anxiety is so prevalent because there is a layer of compounded trauma and also just challenges living as a soft being, a sensitive creature in this world with all of the stimulus and everything. So, really, it's about us understanding that anxiety is actually communication from our body intelligence. So instead of fighting against these symptoms, trying to suppress them, trying to make them go away, to understand that this is actually communication from our body for us to listen to. So this is the alchemized anxiety is, alchemizing is taking something from one state to another. So it's transforming that experience of anxiety, overwhelm, stress, all of the things that come with that. And it's understanding it as a source of wisdom, as a source of guidance, and heeding, learning to heed that guidance and wisdom.
I like that you said compounded trauma. And most of us have that compounded trauma all the way from childhood.
Oh, yes. And even if it's...
Go ahead.
Even if it's not like experiences that we would necessarily think of as trauma, which most of us have that as well, but even just like the backwards cultural norms that we have here, especially as energy sensitives, some of these things can be very traumatic. Even, for example, existing as a Black woman in this world, existing as a woman in this world, and all those some of the cultural things that we learn and grow up and absorb and internalize, these also can create that compounded trauma response.
Yeah. So I talk about that, through my story that I've told, and it's going to continue soon. But
second book.
Yes.
Congratulations.
So the trauma, especially for us women, it just keeps building on top of itself. And I was taught or shown that just suck it up and keep it moving. So that's why that word compounded really resonated with me when you just said that. Absolutely. So it wasn't until I wrote the book that I started to therapeutically release years and years and years of trauma.
Yes, ma'am.
And it was such an out-of-body experience that I slept for days afterwards. It was just a release that I can't even describe.
That's powerful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I was telling people, that's why I want people to write their stories. And through these conversations, I want it to resonate with others and say, oh, that's something similar that I've been through, or I know somebody that's been through that, or I want to tell my story. This Absolutely. Is what these conversations are about.
So powerful.
Yes. And so I want you to share with us, if you will, a personal journey of anxiety, and how did it transform into empowerment for you?
Oh, yeah, that's a great question. I mean, everything that I do now and everything that I've offered and developed has been a response to first my own experience with anxiety,
Mhm.
which started as young as I can remember.
Yeah.
Definitely so, and then all the experiences compounded, yeah. So developing my own, and actually in and out of therapy pretty much all, since 10, 12 years old, and
Mm.
finding a lot of gaps in that type of care. And that really also is a big part of what drove me to ultimately, I was like, I have to figure this out on my own. And so I did start developing those tools over the years, and coming out of the shell. So I've been as debilitated as I've been on every end of the spectrum, really. So I've been
Mhm.
as far gone as, and this is kind of how I stepped into adulthood too, very severely mentally ill, like so severe
Mhm.
social anxiety, to where even like paying for gas or going through a drive-through, that was, I couldn't do those things. I was shut in the
Mhm.
house for probably like a good year, like right after I graduated high
Mhm.
school, left
Okay.
college and all these other things. So it was deep, very deep. But yes, over
Mhm.
the years, you know, it's absolutely inextricable from my spiritual path, like that. My spiritual path is also the healing path. And
Mhm.
so connecting with my guidance system, and a lot of it was, so I guess, it's kind of interesting because people talk about like, dark night of the soul, or you have an awakening, but in my experience it happens in layers. So you'll have this awakening and this, like you said, this huge release and this opening and expansion, and then you'll integrate that and become this new person, but then you'll have another one and another one and another one. And this is how, at least my experience is, how I've grown and developed.
I can understand everything that you're saying. It's good that you did get the mental I mean the help with your psychiatrist at an early age. I didn't have that. I didn't start seeing anyone until I had to be about, I was maybe late 20s, early 30s. So I before that it was like taboo to say that you want to go seek help for anything.
Yeah,
And
there's
then you don't put it together. I didn't put things together like I put them together now because I've been coached and I have a specialist and things of that nature that I have ongoing treatment with. As you know who she is, Salma Kaktab. You
yes,
know her. You spoke with her. She's a wonderful person. She's going to be part two of her series on this show.
yeah.
And um, after that release, I thought everything was okay. And I went right back into the trauma because I got the love bomb from a narcissist.
Mm.
And that love bomb meaning, oh, I love you, I miss you, play a violin. But what he was is what I just told you earlier. He was a backwards walking giraffe, okay? A pigeon with the feathers off. Following. But I didn't know it because I was love bombed. So it threw me right back into the trauma and I kind of regressed. And then you can't see the forest for the trees kind of thing. And it just continues and continues and continues until God says it's enough.
Yes.
Keeping you, keeping you, keeping you, keeping you. Now it's enough. Go.
Yes.
And that's how it kind of went for me. I
Yeah.
noticed everything that was supposed to be was something that I was guided to. It was so easy.
Right.
And sometimes you guided to things that are bad situations, but you're supposed to be there for some other reason. And
Exactly.
I know that even though I was in that bad situation like that, and I had to endure all of those things, I was there for a greater reason. I touched so many lives positively being there at my peril, but
Yeah.
that's what I was there for.
Yes, I hear you. I hear you.
Yeah, yeah,
Actually, that
yeah, yeah.
reminds me of what I had forgot that I was going to say is
Okay.
that my own experience. So I had an experience of, so my father passed, and within that
Mhm.
same month, my housemate took her life, and children were
Oh,
involved, and it was
oh,
just such
oh.
a tragic story. And so I developed PTSD from that. And from
Mhm.
that experience of having PTSD, I learned I learned that PTSD, that response is actually the body's intelligence. It is protecting us. And I saw how brilliant it was. For example, like, I think I didn't experience the feeling of hunger for like 2 months straight. And I couldn't
Mhm.
see anything peripheral. I could only see like straight ahead. And I
Mhm.
realized that what was happening was that my body was like conserving energy for survival. Like basically my nervous system was in this state where it's like we're in danger, like we need to be on guard, we're in danger. So
Mhm.
on all,
Survival
like
mode.
extra functions to have just those main functions, heartbeat, so I can run fast, if I need to.
Yeah.
And so then I started to realize, these things that we call dysfunction, PTSD and all the symptoms of that, depression, anxiety, all these things we think of as these problems and symptoms, they're actually communication from the body intelligence. They're actually to help us. And so I started to listen to my body and learn from my body. And from this is what I developed, what I call sensual fluency, which is understanding the language of our body. So cultivating a language, learning that language, cultivating a relationship with our body. So when you were talking about the traumas and they're compounded and, listening, this is the thing, is we have to learn how to listen to our bodies as a guidance system. Instead of we think we have to make our bodies do these things, we have to, we're forcing and contorting, we have to make them look all these certain ways, but these are our teachers right here. And these are our ancestors. Our bodies are our ancestors. They're our ancestors. So that is really the core of alchemizing anxiety, is recognizing that anxiety is that communication from the body intelligence and getting to know that language. So maybe it's anxiety, depression, all of these things. None of these things are bad things. They're uncomfortable. We don't want to stay there, but they're all part of our guidance system.
Yes.
That's what I really learned from my experience with PTSD.
Yeah. And so some things, when I don't want to do something, for instance, if there's an event that I really don't want to go to for whatever reason, and I get a toothache per se, okay? And this is the day of the event. I get a toothache and I'm like, oh my God, my tooth is hurting. And then I don't really address it because it's the weekend and I can't get to the dentist until the beginning of the week. So I go to the event. The next day, my tooth's not hurting anymore. I haven't used anything. I haven't put anything on it. I didn't know what to do, why it was happening. It was because my body was telling me that was my anxiety.
Yeah.
Don't go, or I didn't want to go, or I had it built up in my body to something was going to happen. I don't know, but that was my body talking to me.
Yes.
And I notice these things when I'm being pushed towards something, okay? That I don't want to do, or I know I shouldn't do. Something happens. My arm hurts. My leg hurts. Foot. Something happens. It talks to you right away. We just have to pay attention.
Yes, you do.
And this was happening to me all through my journey, but I didn't know. Again, I couldn't put it together like I'm putting it together right now.
Right. Same.
But when you reflect on it, you say, "Oh wow, that's what was happening. That's what I was being told to do, or that's why that hurt." Or
exactly.
So I know exactly what you're saying when you say the body is talking to you.
Yeah, so when we feel sensation, physical sensation, this is how our body talks. So when we feel those things, instead of maybe like taking some aspirin or something like that, taking a moment to listen. And we can actually literally get information and clarity and guidance when we just listen to pain, even just sit down and listen, even starting just by, just taking some breaths and even just kind of articulating in your mind or out loud, whatever, what is the shape of the pain? What is the texture of the pain? What's the intensity of the pain? And that starts to get you kind of conversing with it, so to speak. And it can reveal to you what is the issue. So maybe for you, it was like, maybe there was some reason for you not to be going, or something that your body knew was, it was apprehensive about. And sometimes that means it's not, you shouldn't go, but sometimes it also means your body just needs to be sort of like assured of something. Like maybe you have a concern. Here's an example. This is like a super like neutral, kind of not traumatic type of thing. So when I'm very appointment based, right? And when I first started my practice, so I used to work for the health department, and everything's sort of, they're doing things. Once you go on your own, it's a whole different situation, right?
Yeah.
So, appointment based. And I would have maybe, let's say, a session at, let's say 5 p.m. Girl, I would have anxiety the whole day waiting for it.
Okay. I can relate to that.
Yeah. And I realized it's because, for me, this is a very common experience for energy sensitives. It's hard to stay grounded to like time of day, physical things like that. So keeping track of time, like if I don't find tools and tricks to force myself to do that, I'll just whatever. I'll forget it's time. I'll forget to eat, like all those kinds of things. So for me, this anxiety was trying to make sure I didn't miss this time obligation. So what I learned is like, I'll just set an alarm, like for an hour before or something like that, so I can mentally prepare. And then that gives me that permission to, between now and 4 p.m., girl, relax, like breathe, do your thing, don't worry
Yeah.
about it. 4 p.m. Then you'll have time to sort of mentally prepare for the session. And then I was able to release that anxiety. So
Okay.
even just like a simple thing like that in the communication and
Yeah.
how we can heed its guidance.
Do you have any other techniques that you recommend for people that are, trying to transform this anxiety into something positive, some type of positive energy?
Yeah, well, so primarily I work with a process called trance work. And what that
Hmm.
does is it helps us to quiet the conscious mind and get down to work at the subconscious level. So really this is the absolute best approach in my opinion for any kind of change work that you're going to do. And particularly for anxiety, this is a long-term process. It's not necessarily about just addressing it in the moment or making the anxiety go away. It's really, I consider a three-pronged approach. So first it's alignment, release, and embodiment. So in the alignment piece, especially for energy sensitives, we do need to have daily practices that keep our energy at a certain level of calibration, a certain resonance, vibration. So as an example, every day I'll start my day with a playlist that it's called Vibe Up, and it's all like high vibe songs, music. I'm dancing, I'm feeling the vibes, and that's me setting the tone for the day. That's just an example, but we absolutely need that, whatever it might be. I think all people need this, but especially energy sensitives. We cannot function well, we cannot thrive without attending to our daily alignment practices. So for me, music, and I do other things like yoga, stuff like that. For some people, it might be dancing, it might be meditation, it might be going out for a walk, whatever those things. But that is the absolute number one first thing. And so that's not necessarily that is a daily maintenance thing, not necessarily like, oh, I'm having this sort of panic attack or whatever, so I'm going to do this. That works too, but we have to do the daily maintenance part. So that's the first tier. The second is the release, because the reason that the nervous system is wonky, in survival mode, it's fight or flight mode, is because of that compounded trauma. Basically, it's that response. So that's the body staying on guard to protect you from having that experience again, or anything even remotely like it. So it's going to be noticing all these things. So if you're genuinely in a safe space and you don't actually need to worry about that, this intellectually, your body may not know it. So that's the trauma release portion, where we release what your body is hanging on to, the negative imprint of those traumatic experiences that keep you in dysfunction, that keep you in hyper alert, that keep you easily triggered, easily reactive. So we have to go through that release part as well. So you have the alignment, the release, and the embodiment is basically my version or take of exposure therapy. So I take people through a process, a 3-month process, the Alchemized Anxiety transformation journey. And at the end of it, after they mastery of the alignment practices and the release process, it's about embodiment. And in this context, it is about standing in your power as the medicine that you are. So we have a community that we've created to hold a safe space, a container for people who are usually afraid or intimidated by speaking up, by being in the spotlight, by sharing their medicine. This is a container. So this is actually standing in the power that you are in the practice of it. And it really does take all three of those pieces to shift, to alchemize anxiety, to take anxiety from this dysfunctional thing that's limiting you. I say suffocating anxiety because that is how it can feel, right? To change that into making it a superpower, making it wisdom, guidance system.
Yeah. Wow. I'm just, that was a lot. Yeah. Yeah. You're right, though. Even, some of us have these obsessive patterns too that we need to identify. You know what I mean? And like me, for instance, I do something and I be like, and I start laughing to myself because I identify it. Now I identify them, but before, no. Before it was just, I thought it was something just normal that I do. But it's a lot of things that we do in our day that are what I call obsessive patterns. And it takes a lot to deprogram those things. But you have to put that spin on it. That's anxiety too.
Absolutely.
So you got to put that spin on it and say, okay, this is what I want my new normal to be like, and work towards that.
Yes. Yes. So, however, a lot of people are like, think positive or, change those beliefs. But the thing is, and that's what it really comes down to, is to to rid yourself of those obsessive ideas, it really is about changing your belief structure, changing your neural pathways in your brain. So it's not about fighting against that. It's about actually rewiring your brain. So that is the power of working at the subconscious level. So let's say you have some obsessive phrase that you tell yourself. Maybe it's, I don't know, the classic one is "I'm not good enough." That's what everybody feels, really, right?
Right, yeah.
They have different ways of expressing it, different words or different context of it, but it comes down to "I'm not good enough." So you can fight against those things that will pop up in your head all day. It's like, to me, that's what I call the hamster wheel, being in the hamster wheel, because you're just going to be putting out effort. Even if you take a couple steps forward, you're going to go back. Willpower is not the way to go. You really do need to go at the subconscious level and do that belief reprogramming. So if you have that obsessive thought, you want to rewire your brain for the opposite of that thought. I'm more than enough. I'm everything. I'm all that in a bag of chips, and start wiring for that. And so you can use like little mindfulness things to twist every time you feel this thought. You can shift it, and that over time can absolutely repetition. And especially if you feel it, that's the thing, is feeling is what really makes it stick, what really makes the changes and the shifts. Because when you are feeling something, it's not just this woo arbitrary like thing. It's literally a hormonal experience. It's a physical experience. All feelings are a physical experience. They are your chemistry, your body chemistry is changing. And so that is really the power that we have when we're working at the subconscious level. We can release specific chemicals in our brain. So we can be in this fight or flight or obsessive thought state, which has a chemical reality to it, of survival mode, chemical reality, cortisol, all the stress hormones. And then we can take ourselves down to that deeper space, and we can rewire for a different belief that maybe we've chosen, externally, or maybe even in the trance workspace chosen to that. And when we tune into that new belief and the new phrase, we're actually releasing different chemicals, the opposite chemicals, that parasympathetic nervous system, the calm, the trust, the groundedness, all of that. And that's where we are expansive and we can learn and take in information and love and all those other things. But it's a chemical reality. So when we shift that obsessive thought to this new thought, we're shifting the chemistry of our bodies and our brains. And so with repetition, that will literally like rewire. I'm talking physical structure of your brain. Okay, this is no pathway.
I have recordings that I listen to while I'm sleeping, while I'm falling asleep, and when I'm asleep. Yeah, that's your subconscious,
Yeah.
I can't remember how it goes now because it just escapes me. But the theta stage, I think it's called. Yeah. And so you're listening to that while you're in that subconscious, while you're in that deep, sleep, and wow, it just you're like a new person. It's like what? Why did it was just that easy to do that? Oh my god!
Yeah, right. And it's so passive.
I feel like that now, but yeah,
yeah.
So, I'm very introverted. I like alone in a room, dark. Don't bother me. Don't say anything to me. I get my strength from that. People are like, "You're crazy." Oh my god,
that's a party right there. Hey.
Yeah, exactly. But I do have extroverted qualities. I can be a social butterfly also, but my go-to is I'm introverted.
Yeah, to recharge.
I don't really have to do anything. Huh?
To recharge, right? Go home.
Yeah, you recharge, reset. And so I've been in that fight or flight mode for so many years. It's going to take me some time to just leave me alone. I just want to be here. I just love it. I love it. I love it. I love it.
Yeah. This is beautiful though, that you had your experience and decades of that. And then now you're basically incubating yourself and really pouring into yourself. Yeah. It's incredible.
Yeah. So how can you encourage our listeners to, embrace their feelings without being judged? Because people worry about what somebody else is going to say. Why? I don't know, but they do.
I mean, so let's go ahead.
Go ahead. No, how do you encourage them to just deal with their feelings and don't worry about what's going to be said?
Yeah, so you're thinking about judgment from other people?
Yeah.
Girl, So I'll respond this way, because the first thing I thought about was self-judgment. Like, I'm feeling depressed, I'm feeling shit, whatever, judgment, self-judgment. And whenever we're feeling judgment against ourselves for negative feelings, the answer is always to recognize this is guidance, this is information. So actually changing that feeling of judgment to gratitude for having the experience and the feeling. So you're asking about other people judging, and I mean, I want to say, who cares what they think? But that's
how I feel. But there's so many that would love to be on this show, but they're worried about what somebody else is going to say.
I mean, I would just say, to me, that I would just be tune into that gratitude for the experience of what it can bring you and what it can make of you, and nobody knows, like, nobody knows what you're going through, so people are going to have their judgments, they're going to have their misunderstandings. We cannot get caught up in that. We can only really pay attention to our own journey and what it's doing for us. So I feel the only thing I could, redirect that energy right back to yourself and what that information is offering you, the opportunities that information is offering you.
You have several journals, and I'm coming out with a companion journal with book 2.
Hey, great idea.
And yeah. So I know that it is very transforming to journal. Some people like to digital journal now. Some people like to voice record, journals. They have a lot of apps and things for that, but it's nothing like writing in that journal.
I know.
Yeah. So tell us about your journals.
Yeah, I had that question, like, are physical journals even relevant anymore? Because there are so many other things.
Yeah.
But it is, I feel like, a very cozy, comforting thing. A lot of my work really started out of what I call the womb space altar. And that is a physical expression of your womb as a way of a priority, like holding, protecting space to cultivate that relationship with your body intelligence that I was talking about, that leads to sensual fluency. So the idea of having a physical journal in that space, that's like, ice cream and cake right there. So that coziness. But yes, journaling is so very powerful. Again, that's an opportunity to have that conversation with yourself. It's also, so you can do that at a conscious mind level, of course, but also journaling
with yourself.
I'm sorry. Yes.
Yeah.
Right. And also journaling is great for dropping down into that subconscious and actually letting the conscious mind go. Free writing is so very powerful, and you can have so much. And, so for example, let's say we're in a trance work journey and we're connecting with your body intelligence, and we find that you have a block on a self-worth thing, right? Maybe you had an experience or several experiences that convinced you internalized this idea that you're not enough. So one of the ways, we can work through that through trance work, but another way, and especially in between and integrating what comes up in these sessions, is journaling and really working through that. So for example, one of my most powerful prompts, so with my journals, I do have some blank journals, but I love prompt journals and offering reflection questions, exercises, and prompts. And one of the most powerful one is one of the most simple, and that is my let's say, like, in this case, my self-worth story is and then just write whatever comes. And then you might run out of things to write, and then you push yourself a little bit more. And then you might run out of things a little bit more. And that's really what kind of gets you down deep into that. But even just saying like, so a lot of women have sexual shame. So my sex story is, and things like that. So it's powerful on many ways on your conscious mind and getting into that subconscious.
Well, we had a great conversation, and we can talk forever. Oh my God, we're like just two best buds here.
Yes, man.
But I want to ask you this before we finish this recording. Kept Woman is named Kept Woman because of being kept by God. God kept me through all of these varying different situations, good and bad, and I wanted to share those stories. And so what I ask you is, what does being kept mean to you?
Well, first I want to thank you for sharing your story. I think that stories are the most powerful medicine for humans. And when we can relate to someone's experience and see what they can do, That is one of the most powerful and transformative ways. Okay, so your question. I will have to say, when you first reached out to me about this, like, what do I know about being a kept woman? And I was really, just thinking of a man keeping you, taking care of you, right? I don't know about that life. But when you expressed to me about God keeping you, I was like, oh, okay, I really get that. That's definitely where I stand in how I see things. So I don't come from a Christian background, but these universal things, they, we just say them in different languages. But so for me, this is like trust in humans. Meh, I can trust humans are always going to human. Trust in God, I know God always got me. No matter what a human is doing, what happens in life, what challenges or tragedy might come, I know God got me. Like, I'm going to be okay. And I even to the point of trusting, like, for example, I had recently went through a breakup and I had this idea I was going to be living in my car for a couple months, stacking up some money, just being nomadic and just being wild. Girl, the first week that this happened, my car broke down, died, totaled. I was not in a position to replace my car, or at least I thought it wasn't. However, when that happened, I didn't freak out. I didn't trip. I was like, you know what? This is a blessing in disguise. I'm about to get the car I've been wanting for the last 2 years, and I'm about to do this thing. I don't know how it's going to work because I didn't have like logistical things that necessarily would lead to that, but I trusted that. And I knew that this happening, even though it seemed like it was a tragedy, I was stranded in a unknown city alone for several days, for example. I knew that it was all leading to, and of course, girl, I got my little car in the driveway over there, with my music jamming and everything. It unfolded exactly like that. And that's just one of many, many stories. So I do believe no matter what is happening, no matter what crazy stuff is going on, God got me. God got all of us. And so it's really just about us remembering that and tapping into that. And I'll take it one next level. That is actually the most core essential medicine of healing anxiety. Because the experience of anxiety, the dysregulation of the nervous system that is anxiety, is actually us not having that trust that we're okay. We're in survival brain. We're in survival mode. We're afraid that we're not okay and that we won't be okay. And so the medicine actually is to remember that, so some people experience it as grounding, connecting with God's source, whatever that is. But remembering no matter how hard that stuff is, you're good. This is your lesson. This is your schooling, just like that PTSD, all that. And now I do what I do. So.
All right. Well, thank you so much for being a guest on the show today. I'm like taking all of this in. I'm still processing all the stuff that you said.
Thank you so much for having me. Let me do my thing.
We're going to have to talk. I'm going to have to call you in a little while.
Yes, girl. I'm here.
Okay. Thank you so much, Solae, for being with us today. I am A.R. Boyd, a kept woman. How will you decide to tell your story? I want everybody to tell their stories. I look forward to seeing you at the next episode. Don't forget to like, share, and comment. See you next episode. Bye-bye.